like the benches on the real house. And I actually really good for the windows.
Why am I standing on a hole?
Come up here. What's up, everybody? Today we are at the Olmstead Garden at the Columbus Museum, and this place is pretty neat.
It has a lot of history. We're gonna check it out.
Yeah. And as you can see, the museum is up there. It used to be a much smaller house than it is a building today.
You can see the house part though, where the chimneys are.
Yes. It was Bradley, right? The Bradley's on that because it's the Bradley Museum. Yeah, that's right. And the Olmstead Garden. Okay, so saving a lot of narration, let's just read this sign.
Okay, so the gardens at the Columbus Museum were originally designed by Olmsted and Olmsted, the son of famed landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted, for Sunset Terrace, W.C. Bradley's new home on Winds Hill. Their 1928 design follows many of the elder Olmsted aesthetics with sweeping vistas, rose gardens, dramatic ravines, waterfalls, forest glens, and massive plantings for dramatic seasonal effect. The finished garden contained terraced rose gardens, a spring-fed fish pond, a ravine with 10 small cascades, a grotto, and a swimming pool with a pool house. In 1947, the Bradley Turner family donated this 12-acre site, which included the garden, and the 1912 Italianate home to the city of Columbus to be used as a center of culture and education. The Bradley Library and the Muskogee County School Board's main office were built and now share the site with the Columbus Museum. The Olmstead Garden has been restored and retains much of its original grandeur. So now we're going to take a stroll along this treasured green space that everyone can enjoy now, not just the rich people.
So we actually attended a lecture by a guy who goes around and lectures on Olmsted and his history.
Okay, so yeah, so that's Olmsted. The Olmsted Brian's referring to is Frederick Law Olmsted, who was like the father of landscape artistry. And he had two sons that also worked in the firm. So by the time this was built, the sons had taken over. I think he had passed away. He died in the early 1900s, Frederick Law Olmsted. So the two sons took over the firm, and there are gardens all over America that have the Olmsted name on them.
The Olmsted firm designed such things as Central Park in New York and the Biltmore grounds.
Yeah, the Biltmore grounds are really especially interesting because if you look at the before and after, like Frederick Law Olmsted was such a visionary. He could take this wasteland and turn it into a beautiful garden, and he knew what it would look like, you know, in 100 years and 200 years. So if you go to the Biltmore Estate today or Central Park today, you can see like the future and how it's still a pleasant place to be.
The man was something else. And the extent of his vision is proven by a simple walk through the garden. And it's really like we just passed a bunch of, are those azaleas? I don't really know flowers. We just passed a bunch of flowers.
I do know the azaleas are blooming. Like those are azaleas. I guess that they're all like azaleas.
Yeah. And there's all manner of plants here. Like these are kind of home site plants. I guess everything here probably is. Olmsted was involved in the country's first coordinated system of public parks. And this is kind of a jewel tucked away in, you know, in Midtown Columbus. It's just, it's a very pretty place. And if you didn't know the history, you would think, oh, that's just a nicely manicured garden. But it's actually got a tremendous history. He is considered to be the father of landscape architecture. If you look him up, the list of his achievements goes on and on.
So as you walk down, you can see, I don't know if you can see, how it's not straight paths, it's curvy paths. And the idea is that you're sort of wending your way around and you don't know what's around the corner, so you can kind of be surprised and delighted. So that's the artistry behind it.
We really should visit this place more often.
This is a little fountain area.
There's going to be a part 2 to this, so I'll show you this fountain a lot closer. The board Stacey read is slightly outdated. The building you see used to be the library, but it has since moved. I've actually been planning to shoot this place for quite a while, but I had to wait for spring, for obvious reasons. Olmsted is also responsible for the country's oldest state park, Niagara.
So many bees.
The return of the bees is always the first sign of spring. When they show up, you know it's here. By this time, Stacey has the GoPro, and might I say, she's doing a fantastic job. Olmsted was nothing short of genius with incredible vision. He started things that 100 years later still enrich our lives.
And there you can see the museum over the azaleas. Lots of gorgeous bumblebees.
He paints with lakes and wooded slopes, with lawns and banks and forest-covered hills, with mountainsides and ocean waves. Daniel Burnham, a contemporary of Olmsted. Landscape architecture even today continues to follow his example. It's important to note that Olmsted himself had nothing to do with this particular garden. It was his firm that designed it.
Here's another staircase.
This building is of great interest as well, which we will see in a little bit.
And I believe this is the pool house.
It seems there has been some unfortunate vandalism.
And there's the footprint of the pool. So you could stand here where I am, sort of Jay Gatsby-like, in a bathrobe looking out of the pool right here. Again, pool footprint. Pool house, you see it's got kind of a tropical flair with those palm-like plants. And this would be looking at the pool house from this edge of the pool.
This pool house has undergone many changes over the years.
And then this building too, right here, that was the Columbus Public Library. And before that, it was a building that belonged to this land. And now I think it's the Department of Education.
I really miss this building as a library.
So this was a sprawling estate at one time. And we're in a neighborhood called Winds Hill. So it would not have been part of Columbus proper. It would have been up the hill. And there was a trolley that would come down you could take to Columbus from up here. Here's the bench, and it is flooded, so you can't really sit on it.
Stacey's down there telling a Stacey story.
And where's the trolley station or something?
I'm glad you asked.
Oh wait, go stand up on the, right there. So you would come out of the dressing room in your white fluffy robe, stand there, look at the pool, and decide if you wanted to get in.
Looks nice and warm today.
It gets hot in Columbus, y'all.
It does.
So you can use a pool probably 5 months out of the year.
So, this is interesting where we're standing right now. Because this used to be a swimming pool where we're standing. And I remember when it was a swimming pool, and I also remember when they filled it in, and I remember when there were plants here. Like, this was a miniature garden with pathways in it.
So you remember when there was a pool here?
Vaguely, it was when I was much younger.
That's interesting.
They've completely redone this. I don't know why they took the garden out of here, because this was a beautifully little...
Yeah, but this is the pool footprint, so you can see what it was like.
Well, there is that. And I remember when they broke all that up and it was under construction. If I can find it on my computer, the footage, I'll slip it in here. Stay tuned for that. But the interesting thing is this was the pool house. So you've got this mansion up on a hill, and you've got this really nifty little pool house, which I also remember when it was enclosed, and they had like men's and women's sides, and it was like 1920s tiled. Over the course of the years, they've ripped down all that tile and done this stucco for reasons I don't understand.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
And this isn't the mansion. This is the part of the museum still. So the mansion is that little part. So this would have been like a hill up to the mansion.
Yes.
It wouldn't be like the mansion looming over the pool like it is now.
Right, yeah, that wasn't even there. That part with the window up there, all that and that were not part of the original house. That was added onto in the 80s or 90s. But Stacey mentioned something and she asked me, and I said I was glad she asked, because back in the 1910s, wrong, and the 20s, there were trolleys in this town, and they ran all up and down uptown. You can see the tracks sometimes through the concrete, especially in the where the Coca-Cola house was, down in that brick road area. There sometimes you can see the trolley tracks. But the cool thing is, there used to be a trolley, late 1800s, that came up this hill from behind that house over there. That building used to be the library. It was somebody's house before that, and the trolley would come up and it would circle up into here, and if you look where that path is, pretty much that's where the track came. And if you look out the other way,
trolley from the house downtown?
Yeah. And the track went on out that way. This pool house that you see, which is so cool, in the 1910s was a trolley stop. This was a trolley station.
And that messes up all the narration, because when were they using it to change their clothes?
That was like the 1920s, 1930s. The time frames were pretty close together.
So it was so it was a trolley stop before it was a pool house?
It was a trolley stop.
Oh, I thought it was a pool house at the same time there was a trolley stop. And when I said you could get the trolley from here, you acted like it was the same.
It is. It's the same building. In fact,
You could not get out of the pool and go get on the trolley.
no, you could not get out of the pool and go get on the
so
trolley.
that was confusing.
They're, you know, looking back, they're pretty butted up against each other, the historical time frames.
Years are years, so no.
Looking back, you know, they would look right side by side, but there was obviously but the cool thing is this is the last remaining trolley stop on this line. Like this, and it's barely even, like you would never, it's been changed so much that you would never know, but this building actually was the trolley stop. It's the last remaining one on this line.
How is it the trolley stop and then the pool house?
Okay, so it was a trolley stop, and I guess they built this house or installed a pool after the trolley stopped running, and they turned this trolley stop into a pool house.
So they always owned the land, even when it was a trolley stop?
I don't know. However, there is a historical marker that speaks about this, and we're gonna go look at it right now.
So yeah, definitely enjoy this afternoon though. Like this, it's 80 degrees and warm and very nice. So we're just gonna take a moment.
We're gonna meander through the garden. Might look at the little ravine, see what kind of wildlife might be over there. And we're going to go look at this historic marker, because it's been a little time since I've done research, so we'll see all the ways I am wrong in what I just told you about the trolley stop. However, I think I'm pretty close. Close but no cigar. However, the historic marker will clear up everything. So many bees. And as we all know, bees are a critical component to our ecosystem. Whereas this is not a story on Olmsted himself or his firm or his sons, it's important to understand how this garden came to be, and you should definitely research Olmsted, because it's really fascinating. He did a lot more than I ever thought he did.
This is Carolina Silverbell.
Oh, Carolina Silverbell.
Yeah, look at how pretty those. They look almost like hibiscus.
I don't really know what Carolina Silverbell is, but thanks to Olmsted, I now have an idea. We approached the ravine, which we will see in part 2. If asked before this day if I thought that the Olmsted Garden had a lot to show, I would have probably said no, and I would have been wrong.
Logwood.
So we're walking down here where I believe the trolley track was. It's really pretty, really beautiful area.
Look at how purple these are.
Yeah.
How richly hot pink.
A hot pink not seen since leotards in the 1980s. And here we come out onto Winton Road. The Columbus Museum's Bradley Olmstead Garden was designed for homeowner W.C. Bradley by the Olmsted brothers firm of Massachusetts. Frederick Law Olmsted, the famed American landscape architect, founded the firm. Of the 13 residential projects the Olmsted firm worked on in Georgia, including others in Columbus, I wonder which those are, the Bradley Garden is widely recognized as the most substantial and significant. Its shaded ravine, formal and informal pools, cascading waterfall, pecan grove, and Japanese yew and crepe myrtle walkways typified the more naturalistic gardens that became popular after the close of the Victorian era. Azaleas, camellias, dogwood, iris, roses, and forget-me-nots were among the many blooms planted between 1925 and 1928. Bradley had a great interest in the garden and corresponded frequently with William B. Marquis, the Olmsted firm's lead Columbus designer. At Bradley's request, the firm transformed an 1880s trolley station located on the property into a pool house. It is the only remaining structure from that line. I think probably all the lines. The Bradley Olmsted Garden is part of the Winds Hill Overlook Historic District, which is listed in the National Register of Historic Places.
Very good. So they built the mansion, they built the pool from the 1880s pool house.
Yes. That trolley station has always just like fascinated me, because that's like on the other side of the historical page, a couple of historical pages actually, and it's the last remaining thing, you know, of that nature from that time period.
I like how it was a fun 1920s pool.
That was cool too, and I wish that I could find pictures of how it looked before they stuccoed it or whatever they did to it.